It's time for our daily dose of cope. And man, the stories are amazing. Me and this leopard sitting up here eating popcorn. Mine was butter flavored. His is face flavored. So many good stories to get to. And I'm going to jump into one that just made me just so happy. We have a how it started, how it continued, and how it's going. Korean MAGA of all things. Korean MAGA guy who advocated for the firing of others and reveled in their misery gets fired from his job again. Karma. Y'all are going to love this one. On September 12th, this is Kangmin Lee. He was excited. He says, me seeing all the tweets about people getting fired for celebrating Charlie Kirk's death. He was excited. A lot of these MAGA influencers were doxing folks. That man, they were eating it up. And apparently this Korean MAGA was too. Auburn University on September 18th put out a statement about people in their social media posts. And to that, Kangmin Lee says, fire them. So that's September 18th. I went over to his page to capture this screenshot so it's nice and clear. It's his pinned post. He says, I was just fired from my job again for my conservative beliefs. They tried to silence me, but I won't stay quiet. Here's why I'm speaking out and what comes next. So they're so excited about people losing their jobs, but duh. It can swing both ways. Dum McGrum. Elon Musk weighs in saying, seriously? And he's like, yep. They took my post on X out of context and accused me of all sorts of craziness I don't believe. This is my second time I've been fired from my job for my social media posts. The first time because I spoke out against the vax mandates. Something has to change. Yet he was so gleeful when other people were getting fired, even cheerleading, firing people. This is the reason why I have no F's to give for these people. Leaflet says, this is ridiculous. I really hope things work out for you, man. And Kangmin Lee is just like doing the prayer hand emojis. We have another one from More Motivation. So how it started, this person named Base Slayer says, listen up, F-tards. It doesn't matter whether I support Trump doing this or that or whatever. I voted for the man. Therefore, by acclamation, I support everything he does or is going to do. Stop asking stupid questions. He said that on January 22nd. He supports everything. Fast forward to September. September 27th, he says to the real Donald Trump, why don't you respond to real people who voted for you? I'll tell you why. Because real people have nothing to offer you. Loyalty means nothing to the rich. I lost my job and I was denied unemployment. I bet all the fires-fed employees get it. What a hypocrite. And that's the thing. You know, the government is shut down. Lots of people are going to miss out on things that they would typically get if the government was functioning and had employees. Lots of people are going to be touched, but Donald Trump and Russell Voigt of Project 2025 are just rubbing their hands together like Birdman, acting like everybody that's hurt right now because of this shutdown are going to be Democrats. And that brings me to this Lie Social post. Y'all need to see this. He says, I have a meeting today with Russ Voigt. I don't know how to say his name. Is it Vogt? Is it Voigt? He of Project 2025 fame to determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are a political scam, he recommends to be cut, and whether or not those cuts will be temporary or permanent. I can't believe the radical left Democrats gave me this unprecedented opportunity. They are not stupid people, so maybe this is their way of wanting to quietly and quickly make America great again. President DJT. He said that this morning. I remember last year when we were talking about Project 2025 and he knew nothing about it. He says, I know nothing about Project 2025. I have no idea who's behind it. I disagree with some of the things they're saying, and some of the things they're saying are absolutely ridiculous and abysmal. Anything they do, I wish them luck, but I have nothing to do with them. And he said that back in July of last year, and so many people were believing him for whatever reason. And now they're really executing their playbook. They're about 50% through this playbook, and I know some people are cheering it, but this is really going to harm people, and all we can do is just sit back and watch it happen. That brings me to this article from the New Republic. It says GOP quietly admits Trump cuts to blue states will hurt MAGA voters. Trump and his lieutenants are taking sadistic glee in slashing projects in blue states. Guess they've forgotten that their supporters live in them too. Russell Vought plainly got a sadistic thrill while announcing Wednesday that as part of the government shutdown battle, he will inflict punitive spending cuts on states that voted against Donald Trump in 2024. The Office of Management and Budget Chief, a shadowy and powerful figure lurking behind the despot throne, declared that he is canceling $18 billion in infrastructure projects in New York and another $8 billion in green energy projects in 18 states that Kamala Harris won. The left's agenda is being canceled, Vought tweeted with drunk on power rapture. Gosh, how exciting. Once again, the invincible President Trump is totally owning his enemies. Not all Republicans are laughing, however. In a little noticed move, GOP Representative Mike Lawler admitted in an exchange with CNN's Caitlin Collins that some of these cuts will hurt his New York district north of the city. So here's the exchange. Lawler, Democrats are playing pure politics here, and it has to stop. Collins, but do you not believe the administration is playing politics by only canceling projects in states where Democrats are running the place? Lawler, listen, I'm in New York and I'm a Republican, and obviously this project cancellation impacts me and it impacts my district, so it's not just Democrats getting impacted. Note that Lawler thinks he's cleverly rebutting the notion that Trump is corruptly targeting his cuts at Democratic states. As a vulnerable incumbent in the 2026 midterms, the congressman needs to appear above such sordid abuses of power. But Lawler, whose district has a lot of Trump voters in it, is actually confirming something important. An untold number of Republicans will be negatively impacted by Vought's sick little power trip. Lawler appears to be referring to Trump's cancellation of $18 billion for New York's infrastructure projects, including new train tunnels being built under the Hudson River. Those are expected to carry economic and other benefits for the entire region. New York is also being targeted for canceled green energy facilities. This is the thing about infrastructure projects. If they get canceled in blue states, everyone in them who stood to benefit loses out too, not just people in them who voted for Kamala Harris. Funny how that works. The same goes for all those green energy projects that Vought is excitedly canceling. It's hard to gauge exactly who will be hurt by all of these cancellations because in a weird twist, the administration is being puzzlingly vague about them. After Vought's tweets, the Energy Department announced the termination of 321 grants supporting 223 projects. But according to the New York Times, neither the department nor the White House is responding to requests for specifics. There are around a half a dozen vulnerable House Republicans in the state where Vought is canceling green energy projects. Will any of these be in their districts? We won't know until a detailed list emerges, but it's certainly possible, and who knows how many rank-and-file Republicans will lose their jobs from those cancellations or get hurt by their ripple effects. More evidence of this dynamic is slowly dribbling out too. Bloomberg reports that among the $8 billion in canceled green energy projects are a number of hydrogen hubs, which are designed to facilitate the development of clean power by creating networks of producers and consumers of hydrogen, sometimes spanning numerous states. Among the funding on the chopping block per Bloomberg is $1 billion for the Pacific Northwest Hydrogen Hub. Well, guess what? It turns out that the latter project spans Washington, Oregon, and Montana, a state that voted pretty overwhelmingly for Trump. Montana's Republican Governor Greg Gianforte has hailed the project as a boon to his state, declaring that it will create good-paying Montana jobs and allow the state to be a leader in energy innovation. If Bloomberg's report is correct and this does end up getting canceled, it's quite a way to own the libs. What all this really reveals is the folly and ugliness of placing own the libs sadism at the core of one's political and governing strategy. The brazen corruption of this threat to cancel projects only in blue states, of course, is the point. MAGA Republicans are meant to thrill to the spectacle of Trump wielding this tactic to inflict pain only on Blue America, and more importantly, to his open flaunting of the explicit targeted nature of it all. Trump grasped the appeal of this to his supporters perfectly well. He tweeted that by entering into the shutdown standoff, Democrats have given him the opportunity to cut Democrat agencies, which is apparently supposed to mean he can unilaterally cancel congressionally appropriated funds by fiat to hurt his opponents in whatever way he wishes. He's wielding absolute mastery over his enemies once again. They are quaking helplessly before his mighty wrath and limitless power. But this will blow back on Republican politicians too. In New Jersey, Democratic gubernatorial candidate Mikey Sherrill is already pillorying her GOP opponent over Trump's threat to defund the Hudson River Tunnel project. He'll struggle to defend the specter of lost jobs and snarled commutes. Lawler has declared it is negatively impacting him, and the same may happen with a handful of other House GOP incumbents. On top of all that, this sadistic little game is also going to hurt real, live human beings, and some of them are likely to turn out to be GOP and Trump voters. Honestly, watching them play this game is just sick and sad. I don't know how America is going to come out of all of this, knowing that Trump is just able to harm people. And what is the end game? Does he want people to expire for real simply because they didn't vote for him? I don't know, but it's going to hurt other people. The same thing happened with Disney. Disney capitulated to Donald Trump and Brendan Carr of the FCC. They took Jimmy Kimmel off the air. They did what they said. But the thing is, they forgot who spends money on their services, who spends money on their merchandise, who spends money at the parks. So now their image is tanking amongst Democrats and Republicans, because obviously Republicans are going to be salty because they brought Jimmy Kimmel back. But they did so only after losing billions of dollars. All of these, I don't know. Disney losing money. These other companies that are, kowtowing to Donald Trump, they're losing money as well. People are losing their jobs. It's just a whole mess all over the place. But all right, let's get into this one. The image for Disney and its streaming service plunged to multi-year lows after pulling comedian Jimmy Kimmel temporarily off air, a move that managed to alienate members of both political parties, according to analysis by investment bank Jefferies. The firm, using Morning Consult data, shows sentiment for the company and its Disney Plus platform have fallen to levels not seen in at least 2 years. Sentiment from Democrats, who had typically had better views of Disney before the past 2 weeks, soured more strongly than Republicans, though both groups showed significant declines. The last 2 weeks for Disney have been as eventful, to say the least, and have been equally controversial, analyst James Haney wrote in a Thursday note to clients. The analyst noted a recent price hike for Disney Plus added to the plunging mood around the brand. People keep canceling, so what do they do to try to bring people back in? They raise the prices. Is that going to work? I don't know, but it seems dumb to me. But I mean, I'm not an analyst. Disney became a cultural flashpoint after taking Kimmel's late night comedy show briefly off the air in the wake of his comments about slaying conservative activist Charlie Kirk last month. ABC made the move after the FCC chair Brendan Carr hinted the network's broadcast license could be yanked. Local ABC-affiliated stations owned by Nexstar Media Group and Sinclair preempted the show in their areas before Disney's decision. This up and down graph right here is the shares of stock of Disney over the past 3 months. And I'm not an expert in stocks. I don't know, but I do know that I know that's worrisome to the people that own stocks and are shareholders in Disney. Haney noted that the entertainment giant faced backlash for both Kimmel's original comments and the subsequent move to halt his show's production and then bring him back. Critics of Disney's decision, including Democratic-leaning Hollywood power players, argued that the company was acquiescing to appease President Donald Trump's administration rather than stand up for the First Amendment right of free speech. Kimmel's show returned to much higher viewership than is typical. A chart Haney shared with clients of the bank's research showed that the readings of positive Disney sentiment divided by negative sentiment among Democrats, Republicans, and all consumers plunging to near zero, the lowest readings going back to before 2024. It's going to be interesting to watch all of this play out over the next few years for the rest of the Donald Trump administration, especially as people are losing their jobs, tariffs are jacking up people, and people are just holding on to their money because of economic instability. And so things like going to Disneyland, which was already raising their prices to like ridiculous amounts, and people not even having money to take vacations and are able to cancel streaming because of negative sentiment, is going to be interesting to watch all of the moves that these companies make. So anyways, go ahead and let me know what you think. I know that I added quite a bit of news and not all of it being that juicy of FAFO, but we had to get to some of these news articles, unfortunately. Let me know what you think though.
On today's episode of FAFO, brought to you again by America's soybean farmers.
How are your other farmers, for your friends, feeling? I know a lot of them are Trump supporters. Do they still feel good?
Everybody's pretty nervous. Everybody's pretty scared. There's some of the older guys that, farm out of their pocket. They're like, I'm not doing this again. I'm not giving back 30 years worth of work. Everybody's scared to death. I got friends that are bankers that, will tell you the bank examiners is already telling them, look, you're going to have to deal with these guys.
And just as a friendly reminder, during the 2024 election, the state of Arkansas went 64.2% towards President Orange Man. And there's been many news reports lately that have come out with interviews from these farmers, in which most of them are saying that they actually need some sort of trade deal to go through so they can continue selling crops. Because they went from $12 billion in sales with other countries down to pretty much zero. And a lot of them are saying that they would rather have a deal go through than to take a government handout, but they're asking for a handout anyways because they're probably not going to make it through. And it looks like right now a lot of these farmers are not happy with the deal that the US has with the country of Argentina in regards to the $20 framework deal. And I'm not exactly sure as to why they're really upset, because this happened in their first term, so they knew it could happen again, and then they voted for it, and now they're expecting another bailout. But this is just another episode in the FAFO saga.
The government is shut down, and while it will certainly impact things here on Capitol Hill, it's also going to affect millions of Americans across the country. While the president and members of Congress will still get paid during a shutdown, most federal workers will not. And it depends on which category they fall into, whether or not they have to come to work. Federal government workers that are deemed as accepted are expected to come into work even though they won't be paid until whenever the shutdown ends. Think air traffic controllers, members of the military, and TSA officers. But back during the shutdown of 2018 and into 2019, some airport workers ended up not coming into the office, and that led to airline delays across the country. All other federal workers will be furloughed, which means they won't work, but they also won't get paid. However, all of these government workers will be entitled to back pay once the government does reopen. The CBO estimates that some 750,000 federal workers will be furloughed, but some of these workers could just be laid off, something that President Trump has teased.
Well, we may do a lot, and that's only because of the Democrats.
Certain benefits that Americans receive from the federal government will continue, like Social Security, student loans, Medicare, and Medicaid. But other programs like SNAP will only continue until their funding runs out, and that could be around the end of the month. The longest shutdown in U.S. history was 34 days. That was during President Trump's first term. How long could this one last? Well, at this point, the two sides aren't even beginning negotiations, so we could be here a while.